I'd like to introduce Julie from the United States, who takes LDN for multiple sclerosis. Thank you for joining me, Julie.
Thank you for having me.
Could you tell us when you first started to notice there was something wrong with you?
Well, in 2009, however, now that I'm diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, I think back to my 20s, and probably 20s stuff was going on with me, but I didn't know what it was, and I was young and didn't pay attention. So, for the record, 2008, I'm going to say 2008.
Okay. Carry on.
I woke up with a paralyzed hand, dropless paralysis, but a few weeks before that I was dropping things and I had double vision and I was bumping into things, and then just suddenly woke up with my hand was paralyzed. My right hand was paralyzed.
Wow. So how did all that impact on your life?
Oh, it was terrible. Awful. It's terrible.
And did you... Sorry.
But it was even further along with MS that I even started feeling worse, because I was able to rehabilitate my hand. Then when I started the disease-modifying drugs, I felt even worse. But a lot of it I know was not the drugs. It was the MS was just taking its course.
Mm-hmm. So before you started LDN, could you describe what a typical day was like for you?
I used to tell my neurologist that I don't know what it feels like to have chemotherapy, but I imagine that this must be what it feels like, because I feel like I have had chemotherapy or I have leukemia or something. I had bladder spasms all day, every day. I was so fatigued that I could not speak sometimes. It was exhausting to get off the couch and walk to the sink, which is a few steps away. I live in a small apartment. I used to be a runner. I couldn't run anymore. My legs, my shins became just spasticity in my shins. It was a nightmare. It was the worst time in my life.
And at that time, if you'd had to have rated your quality of life on a score of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, what would it have been?
1.
A 1. Okay. So, how did you hear about LDN?
Word of mouth from another. I met a girl at a blueprint for MS thing that these neurologists were putting on, and there was word that there was this doctor, Dr. Daniel Cancer, who walked away from the corporate hospital setting and opened up his own place in the town I live in, and that he was prescribing LDN. Then I got on the internet and I read all about it, and I read the theory behind it, what it does. I went to this doctor. This doctor is just him and his secretary, and he prescribed it. And he told me, Julie, this isn't going to be a cure. I want you to know this isn't going to cure MS, but it will change your life. And I remember being so excited.
Mm-hmm. And when you first started, did you notice any side effects?
0.
Okay. And how long would you say it took before you started to notice any improvements?
When I say this, I am not exaggerating. The next day, okay, I hadn't exercised in months. The next day, I went to Pilates, and my bladder spasms were gone, and they've never come back. And I've been on LDN 3 years now,
Mhm. And what would you say your quality of life would be now on that scale of 1 to 10?
Okay, I still have MS. I still notice it, but compared to then, if I had to do a comparison, it's a 10. Pre-LDN a 1, post-LDN a 10. I still have MS. I still notice things, but they're not like they used to. Doesn't even compare to that. There were times I felt like I was going to die. I felt so ill, and that LDN saved my life. And when I go to the compounding pharmacy where I get it, I always thank them, and I'm like, you don't understand. And there's a guy behind the counter whose mother died from complications of MS years prior, and he said, I know that if this stuff would have been around when my mother had MS, she wouldn't have died.
Mm. Well, what would you say to other people, Julie, who are thinking of trying LDN?
I think that why wouldn't you breathe? It's that like, to me, if somebody gave you a choice of breathing or not, wouldn't you choose to breathe? Well, then you should choose low-dose naltrexone.
Okay, so what would you say a typical day is like for you now?
Okay. You know what? I still, like I said, I still have MS. I'm no longer able to run, but I can do Pilates, which I couldn't do prior to LDN. I don't have bladder spasms. I can wake up and not feel like I have a hangover. I don't know if that makes sense. I remember prior to LDN, like waking up and going, I feel as if I drank a bottle of wine last night, and I didn't. So I can wake up and I can feel refreshed. You have more energy. Your symptoms aren't as bad. They're still there, but I can do more. Take less rest breaks, less naps. Still have to, do some energy conservation, but nothing like it was before LDN. Mm-hmm. I have a life now.
Wonderful. That's amazing.
Oh, I don't, and corporate hospitals don't prescribe it. And maybe that's a good thing.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just that I think that I'm amazed at the amount of people that don't know about low-dose naltrexone. And I was a home care nurse, and I got a lot of people to this doctor to get LDN with, all the things it treats, and it saved their lives. And it's just amazing to me that some people are so afraid of medication, I understand. I don't even consider LDN a medication per se. I consider it a lifesaver, and it's like there's no side effects, that it's like a vitamin almost. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful med, and I'm terrified that if I were on a desert island and somebody said you can have one medication, I would choose LDN.
I know.
I feel that strongly about it. Mm-hmm. And I've found out, because it's delivered to me now, and I've actually, through these years, I've actually gone a day or two without it. The difference I can tell in even walking, it is in those 2 days is different than when I get it and I take it after not having it for 2 days. I'm back to normal that after taking it. It's incredible. I think it's a lifesaver.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for sharing your experience with us, Julie.
You're very welcome.